It's time to spin the wheel and talk about it on Real to Real Talk. Netflix Roulette is tonight. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things cinema and, starting tonight, television. Joining me, as always, is Paul Britton, the other Real to Real Talker. Paul, welcome. I'm excited to get together with you once again tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We're bringing back one of our older bits, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done Netflix Roulette from our friends over at realgood.com. You can find the tool that we use at realgood.com/roulette. Paul, tell them a little bit about what exactly that is.
So let's say you don't know what you want to watch, but you know that you have Netflix and you like putting in stuff on Netflix. You just click a button and it will pick something for you to watch for you. Now, you can specify if you just want movies or if you just want TV shows, or you don't care movies or TV shows. You can pick genres, which is what we do with our segment here. And they have like 25 different genres to pick from. One such genre is science fiction, sci-fi, and that's the one we went with tonight.
Indeed, as we delve back into Netflix Roulette, which is always, how should we say, interesting in terms of the results that we get. And, I wonder, Paul, sometimes what it would look like if we did expand beyond the, Netflix streaming service. I'm not saying that I want to, but I know that one of the things I notice as we've done this over the years is you're getting a lot of random stuff that you probably would not have come across, and you certainly wouldn't have gone searching for.
Sure. Yeah. And that's the fun in it, is getting something that you definitely would not have watched otherwise. Sometimes it's something that you didn't even know about, and it's like, oh, this is fun. Okay, this works. And sometimes I got Y Tu Mamá También, which was like something I always wanted to see and just never got around to it. So it was like, great, perfect.
Right.
And then other times you get the one that you got that one time that was the most movie you ever watched.
Oh man, there's been a few. But all in all, the fact of the matter is this is a fun way to find movies that, like I said, you wouldn't normally go looking for. So our topic, our genre this time around was science fiction. And Paul, you had an interesting idea, which was to try to discern from titles, perhaps what the movies were about. So
yeah, I thought
exactly.
We're not going to spend like 5 minutes trying to discern it. Just going to see the title and be like, oh, okay, that's about blah, blah, blah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, if you don't mind, I'll put up my title first, and I'll get the ball rolling. So here is the movie that I was given by our friends at realgood.com. The movie is called Cosmic Sin.
Cosmic Sin. Okay. Yep. Cosmic Sin is a take on the Adam and Eve allegory. There's two people who escape Earth as it's about to explode or something, and they land on another planet, and they just redo the whole the whole mortal sin of eating an apple, and it causes chaos for them.
It's like you've seen it. No, I'm kidding. Although I gotta say, that's a pretty good guess at what this might be about. But Cosmic Sin, let me start by saying, would you say that Nicolas Cage does films because he needs to, given his filmography over the last several years?
I think Nicolas Cage only does films because he needs to, given his filmography over the last several years.
Okay. Well, you might be surprised to know that perhaps our friend Bruce Willis is doing the same.
I would not be surprised to know. Actually, I've been aware of that.
Yeah, because this is a Bruce Willis vehicle, Cosmic Sin. Now, did this title even ever cross the very bottom of a radar for you?
No, how is this not like? How is this not top 10 on Netflix this week? Come
So
on,
you would think, right? Well, if you were to see it, you'd know why.
and I would have watched it because I love Bruce Willis.
Right. Okay. And so when I spun the wheel
Yeah,
and it gave me my result, I had a very similar reaction to yours because mine was 91 minutes.
yeah,
And that's sort of the going joke here about this whole, gem
right,
of a program is okay, only 90 minutes.
yeah.
But then I saw the movie poster and I was like, is that Bruce Willis? And so it was. And yeah, so Cosmic Sin, again, part of the science fiction genre, is the story. How should I put this? It is the age-old story of we have colonized
Mm,
and some evil force or civilization has managed to build some form of gate that
okay.
they're going to bring. The movie is basically they're going to bring an army through.
Oh no,
So we must rush to stop the gate
for sure.
and of course the enemies. But of course there's always sort of that advanced team of aliens that shows up, right?
Hmm.
And so that's how you know that there's a conflict going on
Hmm.
and that there's things possibly happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very, common science fiction film trope, I guess. And go ahead. I can tell you want to say something.
So on IMDb,
Oh geez, did you even look? Why?
on
Why?
IMDb, they have a Metacritic score, and it's out of 100, and this has 9.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And somehow that 9 is generous because when I say it's a race against time to destroy the gate, boy, I'm glad it was a race because it, this movie is laughably bad
Okay.
in terms of everything from special effects to the storyline. Bruce Willis has no carrying power here in this movie. He is in it, as is Costas Mandylor.
Okay.
No reaction. Okay.
I
Uh,
don't know who that is.
okay.
Frank Grillo's in it, who was Roman
Deathstroke.
in the,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think I just got the character. Anyway, yes, from the MCU, not looking well in this
Okay,
film.
cool.
And he plays that rugged character that has to sacrifice his life in order for we won't have enough power, but he happens to be and
He plays Bruce Willis's role from Armageddon, is what you're saying.
right, exactly. Well, no, and not Bruce Willis, but Frank Grillo.
Right.
And here's the funny part: it's how he ends up in that position because the I'm going to try to give you the sort of the abbreviated version. Earth has colonized 2 other planets, okay,
Right.
and the third of the 3 planets has been destroyed by this enemy that's approaching the second planet, and of course, the Earth becomes the final destination, right? So they all transport themselves via science through space in these like individual suits. So they're all hurtling through space, not in a ship, mind you,
Mhm,
just
mhm,
themselves, okay?
mhm.
Because they have a way. And the reason Frank Grillo ends up being the hero that manages to get this thing destroyed at the end, because I don't give a shit about spoilers here, is because about midway through the movie, as they're making the trip, he runs into something. So he
Okay.
spends the rest of the film, you even forget he's in it until the last minute. You're like, oh my, now what? How are they going to destroy this thing? All hope is lost. And there's Frank Grillo. Nope, I'm still here. And I just happen to be close enough to do whatever has to happen. So it was hilarious.
MacGuffin.
Absolutely hilarious. Made even worse by the fact that his son was also on this mission. So they have this sort of like, why do you have to do it, Dad? Because I'm the only one floating out here in space. Like, there's not really a big difficult thing here. And
It's supposed to be me.
right, seriously, yeah, they took all the bits of movies of that type and were like, how do we fit this in? Bruce Willis is. Let's go back to the title real quick
Okay.
because you might still be wondering. So the only reason this title is what it is because in the film, the concept of cosmic sin is the destruction of a species. And
Oh,
so Bruce Willis is brought back from being exiled to be the hero of this story. You know, we got to get this guy back because he's going to help us destroy the enemy, the approaching aliens. But, you know, he's been banished because he committed this cosmic sin because he dropped a Q bomb, as it was called, a quantum bomb, on some unnamed planet in some unexplained incident.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's just a real quick, like, how do we work this title in? And so the rest of the movie, anytime you hear quantum bomb, you're like, ooh, what's this bomb? Then you finally see the bomb and you're like, that's not going to destroy shit. So unless Rangel is floating out in space, which he just happened to be. So it was hilarious. And that 9 is well deserved. So yeah, it was. But hey, you know, I got to say 91 minutes of this film is still better than the first Twilight. So there you go.
There you go. Are you going to give us a taco rating or no?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Listen, just because of effort, just everything that was tried, I'm not only going to give it a taco, I'm also going to give it some guac.
I love the taco with guac. That's my favorite ranking.
You had a movie, and the guac comes from all of these like ridiculously hilarious things that for me made it entertaining. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm with you. You got a taco and some guac for Cosmic Sin. You can find it on Netflix. I suggest that maybe you don't. And so
or you do. We always say we encourage everybody to go watch.
Oh, sure, yeah. So, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, let's just be, you know.
It wasn't not fun. Okay. It had its moments. Okay. Know.
It just wasn't good, which is
right. Okay. Yeah, I mean they got in every, you know, it's like, oh, here's this, you know, this really buff female character with the big chain gun, and then there's sort of the mousy guy who's like, hey, Dad, he literally says to her, do you think there's a chance? And she's like, saving the world? Absolutely. He's like, no, but for you and me. And I'm like, oh.
Hey, Vasquez, anybody ever mistake you for a man? No. How about you?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, that's the guac right there, buddy.
All right. So I got a movie called Arq, ARQ in capital letters.
Okay.
Go ahead. What is this movie about? Guess.
Okay, so all caps. I'm going to assume the periods were just eliminated for the sake of aesthetic. So I think Arq is probably about some sort of ship that has some form of like there's probably something to do with an end of the world type scenario, and the Arq is some sort of like scientific vehicle that's going to save everyone.
Like the biblical Ark.
Yeah, but in the science fiction-y terms.
Okay.
And ARQ stands for something.
Okay. If it does, we don't find out. And that's not what it's about. It's actually closer to the Arc reactor from Tony Stark than the Arc. So Arq it's actually interesting. So it's a super low budget sci-fi film.
Okay.
So, you know, effects are none to zero. You know, this is more of a high concept than an actual, you know, effects driven situation. So the Arq is a power source that somebody has developed in a post-apocalyptic world. Australia has been destroyed for some reason. They don't really delve too deep into it, other than to say that you can't go outside because the air is pretty much unbreathable, and you know you need like a breathing mask to go outside, which is convenient so that the whole movie can take place in one house. And there is this power source that somebody develops, and there are two factions fighting to try to get this power sourse. And there's some mystery behind the power source. So what this movie actually turns into, and this was like kind of surprising. You like Groundhog's Day, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, and that concept, you know, 2 years ago we had Palm Springs. Those kind of movies pop up, like where you relive the same day over and over. In this case, it's a 3-hour window. It's not a day. And the time loop is being controlled oddly enough, by this power generating machine.
Okay.
And so the protagonist, the hero of the story, and his Renton is the guy's name. Renton is and his girlfriend Hannah are trying to figure out how how to protect the reactor from being stolen by these outside forces, and most of all, like I don't want to spoil too much because I actually want people to watch this movie because it's actually really interesting. It's high concept, low budget. It's pretty interesting. But I just love the Groundhog's Day conceit of a movie,
Sure.
and this one does it pretty well. I mean, it's there's one thing about it that is a little odd and frustrating is that other people get sucked into the loop and they don't even like try to explain it. It's just kind of like, oh, you're in the loop now, okay,
Gotcha.
and then it's like, wait, why? What happened? We're not gonna go. We're not. That's not what this movie's about. This movie
We only got 90 minutes.
loop and figuring out how to survive the whole loop and get to the end of the loop to figure out what's causing the loop potentially.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. It's whoa, there go the dog. It's I mean, it feels like a low budget movie. Let's like well made low budget sci-fi film.
Okay.
And it's I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much to say about it other than it's a very tight, like 85 minutes, and it's fun. There's one thing that it doesn't like delve into, like it's not going to ruin anything, but the cool thing about it is, so like the idea is that this energy generating machine is supposedly a perpetual motion machine, and so like that's how it's going to be revolution. It's going to save the world. Blah blah blah. We just need to make sure it gets into the right hands. And the really interesting thing about it is that they explain that the reason why it's a perpetual motion machine and the reason why it is the center of the time loop is because it's not actually a perpetual motion machine. What it's doing is regenerating the same energy over and over and over again. But you can, the idea being that you can access that energy. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Like that was a conceit of a perpetual motion machine that I'd never thought about before. So it's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Cool.
So Arc, it's on Netflix. I'm giving this one a solid three tacos.
Nice.
I really genuinely enjoyed it.
Nice.
It's not great, but it is definitely an entertaining, interesting movie, and it ends and it's over and it's like it's one of those endings where it's just like, no, wait, no, I want more. But I definitely want more. But I like the ending. Even though like it. So if you don't like cliffhanger endings to your movie, you might be annoyed with this one. But I really I thought it was the best way to end the movie.
They left room for a sequel, is what you're saying. For Arc 2.
Probably not going to happen, but
right.
Maybe, I guess.
That was ambitious of them to leave it in the cliffhanger. That's awesome. So, yeah, I'm looking at the page here. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that would have me definitely curious.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Excellent. All right.
If you have like, if somebody gave you $1 million to make a movie, I highly recommend you make a high concept sci-fi flick because it's a really good way to spend $1 million. That's all. That's what I'm going to say.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you can find the roulette wheel at realgood.com. We invite you to do so. All you have to do is get on over to realgood.com/roulette. Set your streaming service. You can put more than Netflix, but why? If you have Netflix, just pop it in there and you can join in the fun that we have every time we do this. It's been too long, Paul. We need to get back to this once a month business with.
Okay, I mean we can. We can go back and relive the history of how it dropped off, but I don't think we need to do that.
Well, we will look forward to future opportunities to do that. So. All right. Well, right now, though, we're going to remind you that you can find us on social media. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook here at Real to Real Talk. You can see the past episodes and so forth. So make sure you check it out. Comment, talk to us there. Leave us some thoughts. You can also find us on Instagram at Real to Real Talk. And there you can see all the past show posters from shows that we've done. And find them on YouTube, where we thank you for joining us. YouTube every Thursday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. You can find us here live. And of course, the episodes will archive. So make sure you click that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you know when episodes land week to week. Now, real quick aside here, Paul, if I may, before we get to this week's segments, I have a question for you.
Sure.
And I don't normally do this, but I was so moved that I was like, I'm going to ask him. Did you ever watch a film from last year? It was an Iranian film from Iran. It won the grand prize at the Cannes Film Festival last year, and it is called A Hero.
No, but I saw that it's out on Hulu. I think.
Yes, it is. In fact, it's also available on Prime.
Okay.
All I'm going to say is you might want to check it out.
All right.
You might want to check it out. So
all right. I will.
I really enjoyed it. So, all right. That brings us to this week's segments, and we have one called What the Hell Did I Just Watch? Paul, take it away.
All right. What if I told you?
Oh, I love this.
That John Carpenter, who you've heard of, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
He's made movies that you like, I assume.
Sure.
Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, Halloween. I could go on.
Oh,
what
absolutely.
That John Carpenter, when he was in film school at USC, was friends with a guy who would go on to write a little movie called Alien.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And what if I told you that they were friends and they together came up with an idea for a movie, and they wrote a script and got some funding, not a lot, but a little funding. And that was their first ever movie.
Wow.
What would you say to that?
I would say, tell me more.
Paul Britton, tell me more. Movie I watched called Darkstar.
Yes, I do.
So this is a movie directed by John Carpenter and written by Dan O'Bannon and John Carpenter. Dan O'Bannon, as I have alluded to previously, was the writer of Alien. Interesting thing about Dan O'Bannon, he also wrote a movie that I have done on this very segment before.
Yeah.
What was it called? Hold on. Shoot. I don't even remember the name of it. It was really weird. Mid-'80s, where are you? I have to scroll a lot because he's credited for every single Aliens thing, because he came Life Force, the 1985's Life Force. This is the one where it's the space vampires and they walk around naked.
Yes. Okay. I'm with you.
Interestingly enough, he also wrote Total Recall, the 80s version that was starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yep.
So Dan O'Bannon has made some stuff, including his first ever movie called Darkstar. And so this has the feel of a college film project. I mean, it's out there. I believe I watched it on Tubi. It feels like a college film, but there's enough in there that it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can see how these two would have gotten like a little interest and intrigue. It basically they went and saw Dr. Strangelove and said, you know what, we could make something like this, but only instead of the planet being endangered, it's just a ship of three stupid people. And so, and that's what it is. And it's actually a comedy. It genuinely flat out, it's a comedy, but it's interesting because the comedy is just not funny. It's just, John Carpenter, goes on to lace comedy into some of his movies. I would say Big Trouble in Little China is a great example of that. But what he doesn't do is flat out write the jokes. And as you can imagine with Dan O'Bannon, who wrote Alien, he also doesn't write the jokes. And so it's these two guys who are ill-fitted for writing a comedy. It came out in 1974, which is interesting because the special effects are clearly pre-Star Wars, but at the same time, there's a lot of like aspirational goals here in the special effects, and it's pretty interesting. Like it won a whole bunch of, or maybe not one, but was at least nominated for a whole bunch of like sci-fi awards at the time for for specifically for the special effects. I mean, you would watch the special effects now and be like, oh, this must have been made in 1978 by a fan of Star Wars who just had no idea what they were doing. It's like, no, actually came before Star Wars, which is pretty revolutionary if you ask me. It's for what it does. It also takes a little bit from like 2001, and it actually feels what I think it is I think it's a bit of a satire of like sort of the highbrow sci-fi, because where 2001 has HAL. What their mission is to destroy planets that could potentially cause black holes. Okay, so like they're on like this 20-year mission or something to go around to these planets that could potentially cause black holes and destroy them before they cause black holes. And so what happens is like all of the bombs have their own like personality, and one of the bombs is like, I'm going to go, I'm going to go, you told me to go destroy the planet and then try to recall it. And the bomb's like, no, I'm programmed to go destroy it. You can't recall me. It's like, no, come on back. And so until eventually the bomb's like, fuck you, I'm not going back. Like, this is what I'm made to do.
Right.
There's also, I would say that's a funny aspect of the movie. The other funny aspect of the movie is that one of the guys on the flight was actually somebody who was working the tarmac, and got like was cold and found a jacket and put on the jacket, and like it had the guy's name on it, and so like he was brought onto the ship because they thought he was that guy's name. That guy, he's like, no, that's not me. I'm not. What? No. And so like
and wackiness ensues.
Yeah, exactly. So hilarity ensues. So actually, it's funny because the clip, the description of the movie on IMDb: in the far reaches of space, a small crew 20 years into their solitary mission find things beginning to go hilariously wrong. And hilarious, I don't know, amusingly wrong. Really, this made the what the hell did I just watch, just because it's really interesting to kind of see. This is John Carpenter's first movie, and this is the guy who wrote Alien, and genuinely his first movie. And there is definitely some like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
So that's what we have here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Darkstar. I cannot say I've ever heard about it, but I want to say, if I read correctly, Dan O'Bannon, did he work on Star Wars in some capacity?
He might have. I didn't see him.
I was looking at his filmography.
Okay.
And as an other computer animation and graphic displays, miniature and optical effects unit.
Oh, interesting. Visual effects, Star Wars episode. Oh, wow. Computer. Wow.
Yeah. He's been involved in some stuff. I guess Darkstar became his resume for his entry into Star Wars.
And he was a visual design consultant on Alien.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Interesting. He was even maybe it was that they adapted his story for the 2012 Total Recall.
Yes.
But he wrote the story for Alien versus Predator. There you go. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I like John Carpenter and I love the movie Alien. I'm really interested to see what these guys could do together. It's fascinating. It's really, really fascinating to see.
That's awesome.
It's like it's a piece of history, and watching it from that standpoint, it's a lot of fun.
Nice. All right. Well, well, I appreciate you always bringing us some cool stuff. You can find out the cool, weird stuff that Paul is watching week to week by joining us and making sure you stick around for what the hell did I just watch. So, Paul, thank you as always.
Absolutely.
Tonight, I'm going to premiere a new segment that I'm going to call, very simply, because I have to use the word real all the time, Real Good TV. When this show first began, Paul, I wanted to include television projects as part of,
I put the kibosh on that right away. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and then we arm wrestled and I got it back. So, yeah, I've always wanted to use this show as a vehicle for, talking some television. And so what I thought I would do is week to week, just talk a little bit about kind of my initial concept is going to be what I'll call episode ones, meaning shows and series that I've watched, whether in their entirety or portions of. I always kind of have an episode one reaction that determines will I proceed from this point, right? Not only will I talk about shows that I have seen in the past, but as time goes on, as I come across other shows or things that are going to be released, I'll be watching episode ones and reporting back my thoughts. Today, I want to begin with a show that the most recent and latest season has just dropped on Netflix. This show was born in July of 2017, and it is the show that is called, let me get my banner in place, Ozark. Are you familiar, Paul, with this series?
Familiar as far as I am aware of its existence.
Okay, but haven't watched it.
Nothing about it.
Gotcha. Okay.
People love it. People who watch it because they love it. So
yeah, and I struggled with, do I start with a series that I know people will go, oh, yeah, when they see this segment for the first time, or do I, try to get obscure? For instance, there's a series that I'll talk about next week from New Zealand that is a precursor to Orange is the New Black. And so there's some cool sort of off the radar series I've watched in my life that I'll be talking about. But the reason I wanted to start with Ozark is because if ever there's that first episode hook that a show catches me with, Ozark has that. And it happens within the first 10 minutes of the pilot episode. And so it stars Jason Bateman, Laura Linney, a host of other folks that you get to know and love or hate throughout the course of the first 3 seasons. And it's basically the story of a guy who gets involved with all the wrong people and goes from a sort of high visibility, high impact trading firm. You find out that his partner crossed some people, and in order to save his skin, he comes up with a scheme that will help launder a large amount of money, and the show gets rolling from there. The character development of the characters in the show are fantastic. The writing is some of the best that I've seen, but the story just keeps you coming back more and more. And with season 4 dropping this past week, it is the first half of season 4, which is going to be the final season of Ozark. And so the story comes to a close sometime within the next year. The 7 episodes of the first half of season 4 are out now on Netflix. And then they'll be announcing a future date for the rest of that season. So all I'm going to say, when it comes to this particular segment, is these will more often than not be shows that I want folks to see and hope people will give a chance to. And trust me, it's going to capture you right from the outset if you've not seen it. If you have seen it, then you know what I'm talking about. And so highly recommend the show Ozark. You can catch the first 3 seasons in full plus half of the final season on Netflix. And so go do it now. That is this week's Real Good TV, Paul.
Is the 4th season, because normally Netflix dumps everything.
Yes, and they have dumped all 7 episodes.
Okay.
It's there to watch, which is why I'm waiting. I don't know how long I'll be able to hold out.
What are you waiting for?
Because I'm the kind of guy, Paul, that if I start a series and I really like it, I will wait for, especially if it's like a one episode per week kind of thing, like Dexter on Showtime. Right. I want to see it all in one run. I know that if I watch this first half, I'm going to be like.
So how many episodes is the final season going to be?
It'll be 14.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
what I was confused about.
Yeah.
And when are they releasing the second 7?
They haven't said yet. They haven't given us a date for the second half of the season.
So
So
is it not season 4 and season 5, with season 4 being 7 episodes and season 5?
it's season 4, part 1 that we've been given. Kind of like Dune part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because we see this so much now, where when you get to the final aspect of it, Walking Dead's doing the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
Vikings did it with
Game of Thrones did it. They
exactly,
made
yeah,
shorter seasons, the last 2 seasons.
right. Yeah, Vikings did it with the last 2 seasons where they dropped, and Vikings did it with, I want to say, upwards of 20 episodes. It was like 10 and 10.
Northmen come out. I just want that.
Yeah. I really want to go back and run through some of the seasons. Now that I've been doing my research to compile lists for the next several weeks, it's like, oh man, I got to fight the urge to want to watch these all over again. So this week is, again, that was a debut of Real Good TV. Check out Week to Week, and I'll share what I know. And if you have TV shows that you want to suggest that I watch and give an episode 1 visit to, let me know. And stop by on social media to do so. All right, Paul, we had a slow week as far as releases go. What are we looking forward to in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, so like this week we've got, I mean, if you're looking forward to it, there's a movie called Fallout coming to HBO Max I knew nothing about.
Okay.
There's the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild on Disney Plus, which I know way too much about, just that it's coming out. Like, that's more information. Like, literally, like this week is another slow week, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But we've got February 4th is Moonfall.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And also Jackass Forever, which I will absolutely be going to see as well. But I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing Moonfall alone, and I think I can rope my son into going to see Jackass Forever with me.
You'll have to let us know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we will be visited once again by Kristen Smith, as we will be reviewing the movie Worst Person in the World.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be looking forward to that. And
are we doing like a sort of like, here's what we think is going to happen with the Oscar noms? We talked about that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Kristen did ask that question. We will talk about when the best timing for that is. If we think we want to do some of that next week, we certainly can.
Well, if we're going to do a preview,
mm-hmm.
It's got to be next week because they're being announced on the 8th.
That's true.
So
That's true.
If we want to do a preview, it's then. If we don't want to do a preview and just want to do like, here's what happened and here's what's nominated, then we do the week after. If we want to do both, we can certainly do both because it's our show and we do what we want.
Exactly. Well, I have a feeling that Kristen's going to be ready to roll, so let's plan on doing that next week. So lots of reason for you guys to come back and visit us next week as we wrap up a pretty quick episode here this week. Gosh darn it, movies need to be released more often.
Yeah. So, if they don't release stuff, we can't see it. Drive My Car still not playing in a theater anywhere near me.
Yeah. Oh, well, but hey, we have a lot coming our way because we are right smack dab in the middle of award season.
Yeah.
And I am excited about all these future conversations we're going to have. So, Paul, as always, thank you so much for all you do. Look forward to teaming up with you once again next week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. And to all of you out there, we thank you once again for joining us here on YouTube. Don't forget, click that subscribe button and the notification bell. Stop by our social media. Just look up Real to Real Talk. You know the drill. And join us week to week. And remember, you're awesome. You're amazing. And the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next time on Real.